We all like a tasty donut, don't we? We all love a lovely, nice, sweet treat. But what if that sweet treat could bite back? Welcome to the world of frightful food. Hello and welcome back to a kooky corner of YouTube. I am here today to show you how I made these little funky donuts. Frightful fiends. So yes, this is a pumpkin one, pumpkin donut. But he looks like he's hungry, and so does this one. And we're going to make one in a different colour. But yeah, I thought you might like to know how I put these together. These can be many things. They could be pincushions, they could be bag charms. You could reduce the pattern that I'm going to give you and make it into a brooch that you can pin on. Many things. If you're having a Halloween party, you could use them as like to put the napkins through napkin holders. All kinds of things that these little beauties could be, or they could just be piled up as a decoration. And I think they're really good for that as well. So what are you going to need to make these beauties? Well, first of all, you're going to need some felt in a couple of different colours. You don't have to go with the same kind of colour ways that I have gone with. You can pick your own. This one's kind of like a charcoal grey and a purple. This one, as I say, is like an orangey colour with a very vibrant green on top. But you can go whichever way you like. So I'm going to make one in this kind of like a galaxy chocolate brown. It's going to be like a chocolate donut, and it's going to have this murky green icing on it that makes it quite scary. So you're going to need that. You're going to need a little bit of red felt for his tongue. If you want to give him a tongue, that is completely up to you. You can just give him a smile. You're going to need thread to stitch them together. You can have some optional beads on there. So if you look at these, I've got some beads on there as well. I've done some French knots in there for decoration. You could do like single strands of embroidery on there to give like the little strands of confetti that you can do. However you want to decorate yours, it's completely up to you. For the eyes, I've used these big brads. These were big brass brads that I have painted with enamel paint. So this is the stuff that I use. It's the Humbrol enamel that they use for painting the little figures and things. It's like a hobby paint. It works really nicely and gives them a nice shine. So, you know, I'm used to using the smaller brads. Well, when I use bigger ones, I use these. You could use safety eyes equally as well. You could also just stitch felt on if you wanted to. Completely up to you. Really simple to put together. I'm just going to show you now how we do it. So as you can see, I've cut out all my pieces. These are already cut out. And a little tongue piece there, because I quite like them to be poking their tongues out. Something about that I quite like. So what I need to grab now is some thread that will match the edge and will also go with the icing. Because if you look at this one, I've gone for matching thread. You could go contrasting. It's completely up to you. But I've gone for a matching one because that's just what I fancied at the time. So I'm going to grab my threads, I'm going to get myself a needle, and I'll show you how we start off with our pieces which are already cut out. So I've picked out my threads, so I've got those. That's kind of a match-ish, and that is a pretty darn good match for this one. So what you want to do is to place them together. We're going to place them all on top of each other to start off with, because this is how we have to start. I just want to try and get a really good match in the middle. Now you notice that the icing on the pattern is kind of off centre. I quite wanted it that way, literally because I wanted the front of the face to not drip down as much, so that I've got somewhere to place the details there. You can see it's longer at the back. It's kind of like uneven. I kind of like that. If you want yours more central, feel free to adapt and change your pattern to how you want yours to look, but I kind of like mine like that. So I'm trying to find the best match for the hole. I think I'm going to go like that, making sure that they're all lined up really well. And the bit we're going to stitch first is the center. So I've got some pins here, and I'm just to hold it together, I'm just going to put some of these in just to keep it all in place, because felt, as you know, can stretch a little bit. So it's best to make sure, just by having a couple of little pins in there, to make sure that it's all held together. Gives you the security of knowing that it's not going to slide and slip around. Okay, so I have got my needle, which is threaded up with thread, and I'm going to start by stitching all 3 layers together in the center part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a little inroad underneath that first layer of icing, just to hide my knot. So I've got a knot on the end of here, and then making sure that I catch all of those layers together, I'm just going to oversew all the way around the center of the donut, because these bits are all going to be held together. And I could have picked a different colour to show you with, but we'll go with what we've got, because I really want to do one of these like deep dark foresty donuts. Looks like a donut that's been made by the goblins. Maybe it has. Maybe it is a goblin donut to tempt you in, because you're not supposed to eat anything that the fairies offer you, are you? Otherwise you can be taken away to fairyland. Right. Let's continue all the way around here. So I'm just doing a simple oversew stitch. I'm using pearl cotton thread at the minute. You could use embroidery floss, you could use ordinary sewing thread. It really is up to you and what you have on hand. Use what you've got and then see what you can come up with. You don't have to buy anything specifically for this, unless you haven't got any of these bits at all, in which case if you're in the UK, I recommend the best place to get your felt from. I'm not sponsored at all, but I just know this because I use it a lot, and it's a place called Paper and String in the UK. They do a really good, this is a wool and rayon mixed felt. It's got quite a good amount of wool in it. I think it's about 40-60 or something like that. And it's a really good, not pure wool felt, which you could do if you wanted to. But I think this is really nice. It's a really nice felt for sewing with. So I do recommend them as a company. I wouldn't suggest that you do this with pure acrylic felt. Number one thing, it doesn't feel very nice. Number two, it tends to fall apart quite a bit. Acrylic felt has its place, as I use a lot of different kinds of felts in my work. So yeah, acrylic felt is great, but I wouldn't recommend it for this particular piece, because this is something that's kind of tactile as well. I always think you should try and do it with something that you enjoy. And I don't particularly enjoy the feel of a pure acrylic felt. This is rather nice, very soft, very pliable, beautiful. Equally, you don't want to be using the hard felt, you know, the stiff felt that you can buy. It just won't bend in the same way. It will look creased. So just be careful what kind of felt you buy. You can see I'm just going all the way around the center of this hole to hold it all in place, making sure that all of the layers, so the 2 layers of the donut and the icing, are all captured in the stitch. I'm almost at the end of this bit now. As I say, it's a really simple but effective make. I love this one. I've made donuts before for different things, like donut pin cushions, and I don't know, I just like them. There's something really nice about a felt donut. It has no calories. It does make you want to crave going to get a donut now. So I put a little knot in there. I'm going to take that back through. So I've come to the end now. And I'm just going to make sure underneath it that's fastened down. So I'm going to put a little knot in there. This is all going to be hidden underneath the icing layer anyway. So let me just put a snip there, a little snippy snip. Okay, so now let me take you a little bit further. You can see that's all stitched around the middle, and on the back it's all stitched as well. Everything's held together, and that's what you want. You can take all of our pins out now, because that will stay together. Right, the next thing I want to do is the face. Before I stitch at the outside, I want to make sure I'm placing the face in the right place. So let me have a look at where I want my face to be. That, it's got like a little dip there, is how I've done these two, kind of placed them in a similar way. You could put your face at the top if you wanted to. I quite like it at the bottom end of my donut like that. It kind of looks very menacing. So what we're going to do is, first of all, grab a pen so I can just eyeball where I want my eyeballs to be. Let's have a look at this one. Use this one as a little guideline. Actually, that one's more central. You can see they're both positioned differently. You do them however you like, whatever you like best. I'm going to try and get mine about there. I'm using a little friction pen to mark where I want my eyeballs to go, like so. Okay, so I'm going to make a hole. I've got my awl, and I'm not going to go through the bottom layer this time. I'm going to go through the two layers. I'm going to go through the icing layer and the top layer of the donut, kind of splitting that bottom bit off, and there, like so. And now I can put in my brads. You could just go through the top layer of icing, but I think with my brads, they need to be hidden even further and deeper in the donut, because they've got quite long legs on them, if you'll see in a minute. If I open that out, it's still going to show. So if I do it under the first layer as well, then it's all enclosed. So let's get this one in. There he goes. He's got his eyes. So open the legs out at the back. Come on. There we go. Pushed them open. And they're nice and secure in there now. If you're doing these for children, obviously, I would suggest using safety eyes. They would work equally as well. Or you could just stitch them on in some felt and just stitch a little highlight into it to make it look like a shiny eye. But as I have these, I'm going to use them. So he's got his eyes in now. Now I'm going to look at the other details as well while I'm here, because I want to stitch my icing down as well before I do the outside edge, but I want to get his face first. So he's also got little eyebrows that make him look quite evil. Positioning of the eyebrows, if you position them at the sides there, he'll look quite shocked. Let me grab a piece of paper and show you. My little trusty pad here. So you can see I've been scribbling on there already. Let's get a clean sheet, shall we? Nice clean bit here. So say for example, let's do his eyes there. Let's do 3 different kinds, shall we? So if you put his eyebrows there, he kind of looks very menacing. Yeah, let's colour those in a bit. So we've got menacing eyes. Then if you put them there, he looks either shocked or anxious. So you could have an anxious donut if you wanted. And you could do even angrier eyebrows if you wanted, so he'd look quite angry. So if you give him zigzaggies, he looks quite cross, like so. Or you could just do plain old eyebrows at the top there. So that you can see that the angles that you draw your stitch in can give different facial features. So I'm going to make him some angry eyebrows. I think I'm going to go zigzaggies. Oh yeah. So I'm going to draw these on to give myself a guideline. This is a friction pen. It will be covered over with the stitching, but if you find that you've got any marks left, all you have to do is blast it with a hairdryer and those marks will go away. Now, question is, do I give him brown? Might show up quite well. I could do black either. Yeah, let's get my black sewing thread out. Give him some black eyebrows. So I'm going to cut a length of thread off there, grab my needle and thread it up. You can do this after you've stitched it all up. I just find it easier to hide all the knots underneath the felt. I'm just going to go in that top layer of icing to do his eyebrows now. Making sure I'm not catching any of the other layers underneath. I'm just going through the top icing layer. Yeah. I'm just going to stitch him some crazy brows on. Let me just split that and make sure I'm not going through to the other side. That's fine. That's cool. And that's one set of eyebrow. Well, one eyebrow, should I say. So that's his angry eyebrow going on there. If you can hear some mowing, my neighbour's just decided to get out his mower, so yeah. Always happens. Hopefully the noise cancellation on my microphone will take that out, but you never know. The phantom mower strikes whenever he wants to. Okay, grabbing that out there. Some stitches in for these eyebrows, like so. There we go. I've taken that through to the bottom layer as well so I can fasten that off. Made sure I've not gone through to that background because we need that free. Right, let's snip that off. And what we need now is a mouth. You could give yours a little nose if you wanted to. It's completely up to you. Shape of mouths as well. You can go with all kinds of things. So let's grab my pen again. So these are the eyes. So mouths. Right, so you could do a simple curve for a mouth. You could do a double curve, which gives it quite a whimsical anime kind of a mouth. I think that makes it look too happy, especially for a Frightful donut. You could give it a V mouth like that. You could make it angry, like It's not a happy mouth there. Trying to decide, do we want to make him cross? Because the other two quite happy. Well, they're happy that they're going to be eating soon. Let's see what the red tongue looks like. I can always get rid of this. That's the good thing about the friction pen. Once you've marked it on, if you don't like it, you can always take it out again. I'm going to see if his tongue looks okay. Yeah, I could make his tongue a bit more central this time. Yeah, he's angry. Okay, let's put a knot in this. And what I'm also going to do is to stitch down part of the centre of his tongue, just to give it a little bit of definition. This is optional, doesn't need to have a tongue at all if you don't want to give him one. But I'm going to make sure this lines up with me mouth that I want to give him. I'm just going to stitch that down like so. Just hold that in place. I'm going to try and catch that as well as I go along. You could actually stitch this on. I mean stick this on rather than stitch it. But I quite like the stitching. Make sure I go and include that red in there as well. Make him look angry. Here's an angry donut. It's not a happy boy today, are you? No. So that's the last bit there. I'm going to just trim off very carefully some of that tongue just around the edges. Oh look, he's angry and rude at the same time. Okie dokie. So we've got his mouth in place now. You could go to town, you could give him some cheeks if you wanted to. I like to put cheeks on things, as you know. If you've been on my channel for a while, I usually make things cheeky. But I don't need to today, I don't think. Unless I do. Give him some angry red cheeks. No, I'm going to stick with that. Okay, so what we need to do now is to stitch the icing down before we do anything else. So I am going to reload my needle with some more of this dark green thread. Snip it off. Thread my needle. And we'll start stitching. So I'm going to find a little area to start. Don't think it really matters. Let's go from this angle here. So this is just going to go through the top of the 2 layers of Doughtnut. Just to stitch down, and I'm going to do it in a really neat, if I can, little running stitch. Don't pull the running stitches, otherwise it will start to gather. You just want to have a nice, neat little running stitch going around the edge just to hold your icing on and in place. So I am just going to stitch all the way around this, and I'll be back and I'll show you what we do next. So we've got all his icing stitched down. Now I take the time to add in some decoration to the top. So I'll add in some beads or some stitching or some French knots or sequins if you wanted to. You can actually just go to town with this. I have got some white beads here in this little mix that I'm going to add in. So I'm going to get myself some thread and Just going to go with the black thread really. And I will stitch some beads on. Place them wherever you like. It is totally up to you where you place them, however many you want. You can go crazy with the sprinkles if you want to. I'm going to start there, and I'm going through the top layer and the icing, so I'm not touching anything on the bottom. The bottom's just left loose. Now you say to me, why are you doing this? You could have done all the facing before you attach the bottom layer on. I could have done that, but that would mean that I'd have to stitch this twice, because I want to hold it in place to start off with. It really is up to you. If you find it easier to do it without the bottom, I just find it easier this way. It just saves me some time. So I'm going to take that through there, and I'm going to take it out to where I want it to be. Grab another bead. Oh, I've got some pearly coloured ones there. That'll do quite nicely. Just adds a little bit of difference in. Take it out to the other bit. And I'm just going to go around adding in my beads where I want them. Just going back in just to hold the bead in place. So I'm going to take these all around and then I'll be back. I'll also probably add in some little French knots, and then I'll show you what we do after that. So I decided not to go with some French knots. I'm just giving him some strands of the little confetti topping stuff. Some little chocolate strands. And go on top in all different directions in just a straight stitch. Remembering not to pull it too tightly as you do it. And just do little straight stitches in different sizes. All the way around to the other side. As I say, you could do French knots if you wanted to, or whatever else you'd like. Some sequins on there, some more different beads on there, different colour bead would also work really well. I tend to leave the little face area free, but that is totally, again, down to you and what you would like to add in or not to add in. I'm going to finish one up there, I think. There we go. So I'm going to fasten this off at the bottom here. And a couple of knots just to hold that in place. And there you've got your decoration. Let me take you back out again. There we go. So he's quite an angry boy, this one. I'm going to put the lid on these beads before I end up knocking them all over the place, which is always likely. Okay, so now we're going to need our polyfill stuffing, because you're going to need a handful of that in order to stuff him. And I'm going to take some more of this thread for stitching on the outside. I could have this. I might save that and use it in case I need it for something else at another point in time. But get myself a decent length of thread. Not too long that it's going to get tangled. You may have to swap out your thread halfway through if you find you've not threaded enough on. It's quite easy. So where am I going to start? I'm going to start at the back here. And I am going to oversew all around the edges. So now I'm going through the 2 donut layers. Yep. And I'm just oversewing like so. Spread my stitch out. Making sure that I'm catching that underneath layer as well as I oversew, so that we've got no holes. You know, a donut. No one wants a holy donut. Well, they do. They want one with a hole there, but not anywhere else, if you see what I mean. Okay. So I'm going to do a length of this, and I will continue going around to save you having to watch me. as you stitch, so when you've got an amount of stitching that you've gone around with, then we're going to grab in our stuffing. So I'll just grab my stuffing now and show you what I mean. So this is the kind of stuff that I use to stuff him with. So I'm just going to get a little bit of it now. And where I stitched, I'm just going to start adding the stuffing in. I do it now as I go because it's just easier than trying to get it all in position once you've stitched it up. I mean, you stitch it up and leave a little gap to finish off with. But if you try and stuff as you go, then you'll find you get a neater and more filled finish. So I'm going to continue now all the way around. I'm going to continue sewing, over sewing around the edge, stuffing as I go until we get to the end, and then I'll show you how we finish up. Okay, so I'm back, I stitched all the way around. I've just got a little gap there. So I've been stuffing as I go. And I might just be able to fit a little bit more stuffing in there just before finally do the last few stitches. So grab my stuffing chopstick, push it in. You don't want to overstuff it, but then you don't want a floppy donut either. Okay, that should do it. So I'll continue with my oversew, trying to make sure I don't catch that stuffing in there. And can easily pull out the little thready bits afterwards, like there. Just grab hold of them and pull them out of the way. Finish up. It's gone a bit too deep, that stitch. There we go. And finish up there. Make sure I've got all the bits in. Wrap it round. I've got a little knot in there, and I'm going to take that through to lose my thread inside the piece. And what I do is I just pull it quite tightly, snip it, and it disappears inside into the donut. And there we have it. We've got a selection of 3 little donuts now. People say, what are you going to do with them? Well, they are good decoration for Halloween. They're also great to give away as gifts at Halloween as well. And if you make them in different colours and different colourways, you could give them as gifts at any point in time. They don't have to be specifically for Halloween, but I just wanted to make something that I can have. I'm going to put these on a plate. I might do a couple more and put them on a plate so that they're all hanging around together. But equally, what I'm going to do with one of them is to put an attachment on it so that I can hang it from my bag as a bag charm, because I quite like that as well. I could make a smaller one, so I could shrink down my pattern a little bit further and make it into a brooch. That would work as well. So these can be used for all kinds of different things. Pin cushions, great idea, so you can just put your pins and needles in them. Have a spooky desk while you're stitching. The sky's the limit. Enjoy making them. If you do make them, don't forget to come and show me the pattern. It's a really simple pattern, but it's going to be in my Facebook group files. And if you do have a go at making them, don't forget to come and show us all, because we all like to see and share in what you've been making. Anyway, have a great rest of your day. I'll be back here soon with something else. So have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now.